It's Oishi. This is a video. I love standalones, but then I also hate standalones. I love them because I like to have just a single contained story within one book, and it's that book and that's it. But I also hate standalones because when the standalone is so good that I just want more from that world and from those characters, and I just want more and more and more, but I know I'm never gonna get any more, that's what I hate. But that is what makes a good standalone, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. I have a list of my favorite standalones that I want to share with you, the one person watching this. Hi, thanks for being here. These are in no particular order, they're just my faves, and hopefully some of your faves as well. I'm gonna start off with probably my favorite book ever, which is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I read this for the first time when I was in like 6th grade, and then I read it again in like 8th grade, and then I recently read it again. Each time I read it, I end up bawling my eyes out. I'm pretty sure most people know what this is about. If you don't though, it follows a young German girl named Liesel as she's moving in with her new foster parents Hans and Rosa, and she's learning to live her new life, but things sort of get rocky when Hans and Rosa decide to hide a Jew in their basement, and it's 1939. You do the math. It's a story of friendship and family and power and survival and love, and it's everything I could ever want in a book. It's just so good. This is actually the required reading for this year at school, so I actually had English last semester, and I was reading this during French class because I had some free time, and I was getting to the end, and I actually had to stop multiple times because I could feel myself tearing up, and I didn't want to like bawl in the middle of French class. I'm not about that. But yeah, it's really punches you in the heart, and it's one that will stay with me forever. It's one that I will continue reading over and over and over again and continue loving. I have yet to read Marcus Zusak's new book, even though I have it, but I will soon because I feel like it's gonna be another favorite of mine. Yeah, The Book Thief, great book, one of the best books I've ever read. The Martian by Andy Weir. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. When I picked this up, all I knew that it was about was a guy who was stuck on Mars and he had to find a way to get home. And that was enough to interest me. You would not expect it to be as hilarious as it is. It's a survival situation. It's a guy who is like thousands and thousands of miles away from home, and yet it is hilarious. There's a lot of science in here that just goes over my head, but you make up for that with the humor and the personality of your main character. I've read this twice so far. I've seen the movie twice. Both of them are great. The book I do like better because when do you ever not like the book better? It's such a great one. I recommend it to everyone. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Science. I read this like 5 years ago now, and I loved it so much. It's been so long that I've actually forgotten a lot of what happens, but I know that I loved it so much. I got it at the library just for this video, but now that I have it in my hands and now that I'm talking about it, I really just want to reread it again. This is about two teenage boys named Aristotle and Dante. Yes, they are both named after the philosophers. Two Latino boys growing up in, I want to say, the Southern America. I think it's Southern America. And it's about them and their friendship and them discovering the secrets of the universe together. It's really, really great, and it's really, really great, and it makes my heart hurt. In fact, the last line of this book is probably one of my favorite last lines ever. I still remember it even though I read it like 4 years ago because it's just so good. Next one I don't own, but it's called A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This book, again, I read it a couple years ago now, I want to say, but oh, it was so good. It's not a very long book, but it's just so impactful. So this book is about a kid named Adam who's, I think, in his senior year of high school, and his elective period is to be like the assistant for the school psychiatrist. So one day he's asked to go and track down this kid named Julian, who, upon finding him, he realizes that Julian was actually his old foster brother. And so he's really happy to be reunited with him, but as their relationship continues to develop, we start to see some odd things happening. It's sort of Adam's story of trying to find out what's going on with Julian and how he can help him. Again, it's such a heartwarming tale. It's such a heartbreaking tale. Again, with this one, it ended with me bawling my eyes out. I feel like that's a theme with my favorite standalones. Like every book I've mentioned so far, I've ended up crying really hard at some point. Definitely worth giving a read because it will stay with you. It's so good, and I recommend it to everyone, much like all of these books on this list. Next up, I have The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. Again, I'm pretty sure this one is so well known that most people know what it's about, but if you're the one person who doesn't. It's about a young German boy named Bruno who lives in Berlin, but one day has to move out of the city with his whole family, and they move out to sort of the middle of nowhere. One day he's exploring behind the house and he comes upon a giant fence. Spoiler alert, but not really. It's Auschwitz, and he has stumbled upon probably the most infamous death camp in the world. Again, it's the story of World War II told from the perspective of a child who befriends a Jewish child. It's sad, it's heartwarming, and it's heartbreaking, much like the last one. You will cry. At least I cried. Also, the movie stars young Asa Butterfield, which is fantastic. I mean, we stan. And there's Lupin! Lupin's in the movie too. I totally forgot. He plays, his father. He's not a very nice character, but he's in the movie and he's brilliant, so if that isn't a reason to read it and watch it, I don't know what is. I've read this so many times, I don't even know. I've seen the movie so many times. I've cried each time. There's just some things that I will never not cry during. These are all some of them. Next up, and this is probably the earliest addition to this list, which is The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. This is a hefty beast of a book, but only because it's told through words and pictures. My 3rd grade teacher read this to us and it absolutely blew me away. Like, I'd never seen a book like this before. Like, it's told through words and pictures at the same time. That's mind-blowing to me. The illustrations in this book are absolutely gorgeous. They're so freaking detailed, and they're all done by Brian Selznick himself, which is just so crazy. This book is about a young boy named Hugo who lives in a train station. I feel like that's all you should really know before you go into it, because it's sort of a wild ride of a story. It will always be one of my favorites. I've read this so many times. It's something that I'll never get bored of. And the last book on my list is another one that I don't own, unfortunately, but I hope to own it one day, and that is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I don't know if I said his name right. Hopefully I did. I actually saw this movie before I read the book. I watched it when everybody watched it, aka like Oscar season 2 years ago-ish, and I absolutely fell in love with this goddamn movie. It's so freaking gorgeous, and it's, oh my god, it's everything. I went and read the book as soon as I watched it, and then I rewatched the movie, and then I reread the book recently. The first time I read it with my eyes, and the second time I did, I borrowed the audiobook from my library, which the audiobook is narrated by Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer plays Oliver in the movie. His voice is actually the sexiest sex that has ever sexed. It's so beautiful. When I read it with my eyes, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I could have. But that was mostly my fault because I was sort of in the middle of a reading slump. But when I reread it with Armie's in my ears, oh my god, the enjoyment level skyrocketed. It is so good. It perfectly encapsulates the feeling of desire and the feeling of love, first love, growing up. Ugh! It's so good. And the movie is just as good. This is probably the first time that I've ever said that a movie and the book are on the same level of how good they are. That's how good the movie is. It's so beautiful. The performances by Timothée Chalamet, Armie Hammer, Michael Stuhlbarg, those incredible. Those were incredible. The cinematography of this film, the coloring, the music, oh my god, the way that just the look of the film just evokes the most nostalgia in me. I have nostalgia for Italy in the 80s. I've never been to Italy. I didn't even live through the 80s, yet I feel nostalgia for it. It's just so good, and Call Me By Your Name is actually probably my favorite film of all time, and I love the book just as much as I love the movie. I want to rewatch the movie now. Again, this book makes my heart burn and cry and explode. I realized I didn't even explain what it's about yet. I feel like basically everyone knows, but just in case you don't. Call Me By Your Name is about a 17-year-old boy named Elio who lives in Italy. His dad is a professor, and every summer he chooses one graduate students from usually the States to come stay with them so that they can work on their thesis. And one summer they choose Armie Hammer, aka Oliver. During the course of this summer we get to see two people become friends and then fall in love, and it's so pretty. Everything about this book is beautiful. Everything about this movie is beautiful. I love it way too much. I'm actually the most trash for this movie and book ever. Yeah, I recommend it to everyone. I will never shut up about it. It's great. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's everything. Okay, that's it. That is all I have for you. Those were my favorite standalones of all time, plus a little rant about Call Me By Your Name, which always happens whenever I talk about it. If you're the one person watching this, thanks. Let me know what some of your favorite standalones are. Yeah, that's it. This has been a video. Bye!